Hi, and welcome to my podcast on real relationships. My name is Sophie Basson, and I am a relationship expert, international speaker, and best-selling author of the book Your Other Half. I decided to start this podcast because, in my opinion, relationships are currently not being portrayed as what they really are. Whether you're watching the news or social media, the perception given to people is wrong. And my aim is to talk about what happens in the real world, talk about real stories, and listen to what real people think, do, or go through, as opposed to creating expectations of something that doesn't actually exist. I may not agree with everything that is said by my guest, but it is their chance to express their opinions and their stories. And here today we have Amanda Relyea-Voss, and we are going to talk about something that's slightly different, but the relationship that we have with our body and basically with ourselves. So we're going to talk about body dysmorphia. Hi, Amanda.
Hi.
So can you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Sure. So my name is Amanda Relyea-Voss, and I live in Kingston, Ontario, Canada. Mm-hmm. I will probably say several times through this interview.
Fair enough.
I am a 31-year-old business owner, and I am I'm in a long-distance relationship, but at this time, we're not currently together, so I'm a single 31-year-old woman who lives alone running a business.
Fair enough. So you had an eating disorder when you were younger?
I sure did. So I started gaining weight when I was, I would say between 9 and 11. I don't know why. My mother doesn't know why. We ate healthy. I just kind of never lost the baby fat. And it took a few years for me to develop a disorder. So I was okay for the first few years of high school, and then it started in my senior year. So I basically had no friends throughout high school. I was overweight. I think I came in at like 180 pounds. I don't know what that is in stone. Sorry.
It's about 90 kilos, isn't it? Something like that?
Maybe. I'm really bad at pounds and kilometers over here. I was about 180, so that's quite heavy for someone that young. And I was very introverted. I didn't really have many friends, and I used music as an escape. So I just kind of played music, took music lessons, and spent the majority of my time alone. But in senior year, I took a photography class, and I befriended someone who I thought was really cool. Yeah. And he kind of brought me into his group of friends, but they were all very thin and beautiful. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to be like them, and I also didn't have any experience with men at that point, boys, I guess, in their teen years. And I wanted a boyfriend, so I very, very distinctly remember writing in my diary, and my mother can attest to this, saying, if I lose weight, boys will like me. And so I made it my goal to lose weight, and I started depriving myself of nutrition as well as vomiting. Mm-hmm. So I would eat my meal, and I would excuse myself, and I would go throw it up. So I was never diagnosed, and there was no doctor's notes on this. My mother did notice. I lost a lot of weight in a very short period of time. So I got down to 180, down to like 140, and then down to 130. And then I kind of tapered for a bit, and then I got even lower. And I think my record, quote unquote, is 100 pounds.
Jesus.
And that is really sickly skinny. I have photos of it. And at the time, I thought I was still fat. And I look back now, I'm like, oh my God, I look disgusting. So that's kind of the story. It's hard to know when I came out of it because I did. Mm-hmm. But there are so many things that happened around that time emotionally and like mentally and physically that my recovery from that wasn't all at once. So like I started eating again, but then, if I would binge on a bag of chips, I found myself puking again. Yeah. Although I was a healthy weight, it's just like there were some elements of bulimia that continued on after the anorexia stopped.
And what was it like to actually start eating again? Did it feel good at the time, or was it?
So the most sad but loving story I can bring up right now is I was in bed, And I'd been in bed for a while, probably a couple days, just watching TV. I hadn't left my room, and my mother came down with a bowl of baby food. So this is an interesting thing to admit. So for many years, I actually ate, like, you know, you'd stir in water baby food. That was like my favorite comfort food, and I ate it until I was like 20 something. And my mother came down with a big bowl of baby food and said, okay, Amanda. So Amanda is what my mother calls me, but Mandy to everyone else. Anyway, she said, Amanda, you need to eat. So she brought this bowl, and I'm literally laying in bed, and she spoon fed me this entire bowl of baby food. And like, I'm like 19 years old, right? Yeah. So keep this in mind. And when she was done feeding me, I just smiled, and she said, do you want more? And I said, yeah. And she brought down another bowl and did the same thing. And I think a couple hours after that, I got out of bed and, you know, went upstairs and was social with the rest of the family. But it took a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? I needed to actively think about eating and monitor, like, how much have you eaten today? That is not enough food. Eat more. And I'm now 31. So this is years and years later, and I still do it. Like it'll be the end of the day, and say I was working all day and I was busy, and I will sit here and I'll be like, okay, so I had a coffee, I had a smoothie, or I didn't eat lunch. It's 7 o'clock. I haven't eaten dinner. Okay, you need to go eat something. So then I will like go and fix myself something to eat and eat. It's not on purpose. I don't know if that's related to anorexia from, you know, my teen years.
You know, because of the unconscious mind and how it all works, I think you created a habit which was to not eat. So, and it became the new you to a degree. So unless you really physically retrained yourself to have 3 meals a day, I expect it's always going to kind of be there.
The most interesting thing that I can tell you, and again, I'm undiagnosed by a doctor, but I have no idea if this is like something that other people experience. But I can't really tell you what it feels like to be hungry.
Fair enough.
Like, people are like, oh, I'm so hungry, I gotta eat. I don't really get that. My stomach does growl, but I've also read that that's a digesting, like your stomach's releasing your whatever chemicals to digest. It's not actually a sign of hunger. But like my boyfriend will be like, oh, babe, I'm so hungry, I gotta eat. And I'm like, okay, cool. And he's kind of like expecting something for me to prepare him something. I'm like, yeah, I'm not hungry. You go prepare something for yourself. And then it's not until later that day that I, again, do my thought process. Oh, you didn't eat lunch. Your breakfast was small. It's now dinner time. You need to eat. And that is really interesting to me that still is part of my identity.
That lack of being hungry, did you have that when you were younger, before the eating disorder?
Yes, I would say that I did feel hungry, and I think maybe the problem was that I felt hungry way too much and I overate. Like, I can remember before the eating disorder started, so my walk to school, there was a donut shop, and my grandmother lived with us, and every day after school I'd buy 3 donuts. 2 were for me and 1 was for her. And we would eat a donut together, and I'd sneak the second one into my room and eat it in private, and no one knew. And what is that, a binge eating, or like the opposite of an eating disorder? Like, I was overeating compulsively.
And hiding it. So in both cases, you were actually hiding it.
Yes. So me and grandma had our sneaky donut, because mom would have been really pissed off if she knew that.
Yeah.
And then I went and had my alone donut. Like, 2 donuts a day is a lot of donuts, especially for a young lady. Right. And like I was always very physically active, but I was, why isn't going to the gym helping me lose weight? That's because I was eating terribly. And then I just stopped eating altogether. Well, I don't want to eat the bad stuff. I just don't want to eat anything. And I also was a very picky eater. So I did not like vegetables, and I didn't like anything healthy.
Yeah.
So it was like no food or the worst food.
Yeah.
Not really a happy medium in there. Whereas now I've been willing to try anything once. And if I don't like it, I don't force it. But I never say, ew, no, I don't like it, if I've never eaten.
Yeah. And so you said that when you got to 100 pounds, you were still feeling like you were fat. What about now? Do you still feel that?
So this is where body dysmorphia comes into play.
Exactly.
it's funny, if you do reading on it, they say, you know, the symptoms are specifically, you know, particularly your face, and you spend your time comparing yourself, and you look in mirrors and avoid them. So, you know, I did the whole avoiding mirrors and looking at myself in the mirrors and over concerning myself with flaws that I saw that other people didn't see. But my biggest thing was that I actually can't really tell you, like, if I draw my body, it does not match what my actual body looks like. So I'm at the point now where I'm kind of ignoring what's in the mirror. Like, I know, and this is, again, self-confidence, right? I know that I look good now, and I'm confident in saying that, and I am happy with my body, but I can still do, and I developed this test when I was younger. So I would pick up a book, and I would hold the book in front of me, and I'd say, okay, this book is small. And it would be like the width of the book, not, yeah. So I'm like, this book is small. This book is 3 inches wide. And then I would look in the mirror, and I'd be like, okay, you look big. And I would take the book and then hold it against my body and turn sideways. And like, sometimes the book was wider than me, and then I'd hold the book up again and be like, you are smaller than this book. But then I'd look in the mirror without the book, and I looked bigger. And I can't explain that. I don't know why that's a thing. And even now, I will purchase a medium in a pair of pants. Like, I bought a pair of sweatpants the other day they're very expensive, from an ethical company. Anyway, I bought a medium, and they arrived, and they were way too big. I'm like, shit, okay, now I've got to return them and get a small, and I'm still not there, even though, so like right now, I think last time I weighed myself, I was 135 pounds. I think that's an acceptable weight, and I'm 5'3.5" or 5'4" maybe. And that's within the healthy range. And I go to the gym 6 days a week, and I eat hopefully 3 meals a day, sometimes 2 and a snack. And I would, you know, my doctor has said that I'm healthy across the board, and I'm no longer starving myself or puking.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because when I was younger, I was much smaller. I've never had an eating disorder. I could never starve myself from food. It's just not feasible. I probably could overeat, but I do hate vomiting. So it probably wouldn't happen, shall we say. But due to various health issues, I put on a load of weight 2.5 years ago, and I've really struggled to lose it purely because of said health issues. And the little party trick that I have is that I can actually put on a stone in an hour if I eat the wrong food. So, yeah, I know, it's quite spectacular to witness. So, obviously, there's the pain associated with that, but depending on what food it is, it can stay for up to a week. So, there's times where I'm much bigger than what I know I really am, but because I see myself as being big regularly through that bloating, just what you said, I went to buy some leggings and I bought a small, and actually supposedly I'm an extra small. I can't see how. I still think that the shop has actually changed the sizing, if I'm completely honest, because I've got some stuff here that's extra small and I don't fit in that, so I can't see how it's possible. But either way, I'm probably a lot smaller than I realise. And I think that when you go through certain things in your life, and because we are highly critical, and especially in people who are a bit of a perfectionist, you kind of always strive to better yourself. So you are going to be too critical of yourself, I expect.
Yeah, you are your own worst critic. It has taken me, I say 31 years, but obviously when you're a newborn, you aren't processing that. So maybe like 20 years, taking me 20 years to fall in love with myself. And I can honestly say that I have. And it has been a complete game changer for me. So all areas of my life have drastically improved after I've accepted that I am great and I'm perfect just the way that I am, and this is how I was intended to be. And you know, there are things that, you know, you can do to fix your own little self-conscious elements. So for example, I get Botox because my father passed on some very deep set forehead wrinkles that were a source of constant self-loathing for me. And I was one of those people that never thought I would get Botox, but I tried it, and it's a huge, it was a game changer. Like, I honestly, in my opinion at this point, my face is perfect. Like, there's nothing else I would change. I love my laugh lines, my smile lines, my dimples, like everything else is great. I just really always hated my forehead and that one little thing. And, you know, everyone, you know, oh, natural beauty, blah, blah, blah. You'd be surprised at how many people that are naturally beautiful are so not natural. My injector and I had a funny conversation. I'm like, oh yeah, these girls are so pretty. And she's like, oh, she's had cheek filler and jawline filler and Botox and wrinkle this and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, I thought she was just real pretty.
But I think this is the thing, isn't it? Because especially with the internet and everything else, that's all we see. You know, we don't see. And it's a bit like what you just said about, you know, you love your imperfections. You know, I think like someone's treasure or someone's junk is someone's treasure, it's the same thing. We've all got flaws, but some of them are actually not seen as flaws by others. You know, they see them as you're being a bit quirky. So there's nothing wrong with liking your flaws. They're still you.
Yeah, I think also the thing to keep in mind is to rephrase that in your mind. So most of us will say, this is my flaw. Well, when you change your mindset around that and it's not a flaw, like the fact that, you know, I have laugh lines means I smile a lot. That's what I tell people. Yeah, these are my smile lines because I'm happy.
And I think this is it. I mean, one of the things one of the examples about this reframing and changing the language that we use, because it's all it is, it's language, is how, you know, so many times I thought to myself I was really stubborn. But actually, if I change that to the word resilient, all of a sudden, it's much better, isn't it?
Yeah, you just found a positive word.
Yeah, it's the same thing, though.
That's amazing.
So in terms of self-acceptance, I think, you know, from what you've just said, especially, it's key, isn't it? And if Botox makes you happy, then what's the problem?
What do you mean?
Well, body dysmorphia is often, we see ourselves bigger because we want to be perfect and we're not quite. So accepting ourselves for who we are, or who we are even, and if that means sometimes having a Botox injection or having whatever, then surely that makes it okay, doesn't it?
100%. So it's not to say that I don't still have body dysmorphia. It just means that I have developed ways to deal with it and manage how it has affected me in my life. So getting over anorexia and bulimia and learning to eat properly and staying healthy and active and finding a way to help with other little elements of myself that I wanted to quote unquote fix, which I didn't need to. I'm not saying that you have to go get Botox. It was something that was really good for me and my self-confidence. And it has been like night and day. And I think that anyone that's suffering from something, you know, doctors say like, you know, get therapy. Like, so I also did therapy, not for the eating disorders, like later on in life. Therapy is a great thing. I've taken courses about changing my mindset. I took a really interesting course called assertiveness training because I was kind of a doormat, but with one of the elements of being an assertive person is actually accepting a compliment. So I took this course on assertiveness, and one of the lessons at the end of the course was how to accept a compliment. So they went around the circle and the facilitator said, "I like your shirt," to every single person. And then we listened to how they responded. And one says, "Oh, this old thing, yeah, I've had it for 10 years. Or, "Oh yeah, this was super cheap. I got it on sale at blank." Or, "Oh yeah, you know, it's a little faded." And then she looks at us, she goes, "You know what? I just gave out 7 compliments and all 7 compliments got thrown back in my face. And do you know what the proper response to what I just said to you is?" And we're like, She's like, "The proper response is thank you." That's it. Simple. Or "I appreciate that."
Do you think that comes from the fact that, because I was thinking about something similar yesterday, and how sometimes, because we're brought up to not be too self-absorbed and to, you know, so sometimes we diminish certain things, like, oh, you know, it's faded, oh, I only got it cheap, or cheap even, or, you know, we kind of diminish the compliment as if it was bad to receive it. But I sometimes wonder if it comes from the way we're brought up, to be honest, because I was an only child. My parents didn't want me to be selfish. So that's probably a very personal thing. So I was never, you know, I was brought up to not, you see where I'm going? Yeah.
So you're saying that based on how your parents raised you, you are maybe a little bit less perceptive to compliments. So, I mean, I'm not a psychologist. You could probably talk about that for hours and hours. I don't feel as though my parents raised me to not be able to accept a compliment. I feel like that was actually hardwired into my self-loathing.
Fair enough.
And that's probably some kind of thing that is stemmed from my disorders, right? Eating disorder and body dysmorphia. Now I can accept a compliment now, and I can even take it a step further. So if someone, for example, I redid my website and someone said, "Great website. Thank you. I worked really hard on it." Right? So you take from, rejecting the compliment to accepting it with a little detail to allow them to feel the joy of giving the compliment and then having you receive the compliment and then learning another little piece to it. Because I've done it. Like I've got, a genuine compliment to someone like, "Oh, I really, really like your shirt," or, "Oh, you look really great today." And when they don't receive it and they throw it back at me, it doesn't make me feel nice, and it doesn't make me want to compliment them again. And that was also a lesson in this course. If someone compliments you 10 times and 10 times their compliment is thrown back, they're not going to compliment you again. They're like, whatever, that's a useless compliment. Not even going to bother. And I think that we need to be a little bit more open to saying, "You know what, thank you so much. Like that means a lot." And just accepting that what they're saying is genuine and they're not, I don't know, just saying it for the sake of saying it, because 0 times in my life have I gone out of my way to give a fake compliment.
No, exactly.
It's not I don't have the time for that, right? If I see something and I compliment it, it's in the moment and it's genuine, and I'm not trying to, dupe you and like say that you look good when you look terrible so that you go into the world looking terrible. Like that's just not part of who I am. And I don't think that that's part of who anyone is as a baseline. So if someone says something nice to you, 10 out of 10, they mean it.
And I think, people don't often actually say nice things.